Hello everybody, my name is Tactical Legos, and today we're going to be working on finishing the Estes Orange Bullet kit. So our first step is, first you want to get it on some sort of something you can paint and hold it while you paint. And I've stuck some tissues down inside the motor mount and stuck a skewer inside, just tight enough to where I can do this. So if you want to, now is the time that you would spray it with primer, sand it, spray it with primer again, sand it, and do that to your heart's content until you get this thing as smooth as you want. But I personally am not going to do that. I'm just going to start by spraying it with some orange protective enamel. This isn't an exact color match, but I've used it before. It's just a paint can I had lying around. So we're going to go do a base coat of orange outside real quick. Okay, so we're outside. I got the orange spray paint. And make sure you shake your can up pretty good. And make sure your tip's working before you try to spray your rocket. So we just want to get a nice little base layer. And you'll notice I'm not worrying about full coverage there. I kind of sprayed a little bit too much, honestly. I could have relaxed a bit more. And you just want to do multiple light coats and have a few minutes in between. So I'm going to cut the camera, wait between 2 and 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and spray our second coat. Alright, it's been a couple minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and do our second coat. By the way, it is not a good idea to breathe this in. If you want to, wear a mask. Definitely if you're doing this indoors. Or just do what I'm doing, which is not breathing while I spray it and letting the wind take it away, because it's kind of windy right now. And then going upwind so that I don't breathe it in. But here we go. There's that wind getting me. Oh, that's off camera. And I'll let that dry again for another couple minutes. I sprayed a bit too heavy again. I'm bad about that. Even though I'm over here preaching light coats, I'm not doing light coats. Do as I say, not as I do. Because I might end up with some drips here. But that's okay. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes and we'll come back, do another coat. Shouldn't take probably more than 2 or 3 more coats to get all of those little imperfections hidden, because I'm still seeing some darker colors shine through from some of the wood glue. But be back in a couple minutes. Alright, and I don't know if y'all can see this, but you want to make sure you're getting all the angles, such as these little edges too. So kind of got to sacrifice my own hand here, but that's okay. We can clean up later. Due to the angles, I'm going to have to there we go. From the bottom too. More on that top nose cone. And we still need a bit more, so I'm going to give it another couple minutes, and we'll come back and do another coat, because I'm still seeing some stuff shining through. Honestly, on that note, I think y'all get it at this point. I'm just going to be continually spraying light coats of this orange spray paint until all I can see is the orange paint. And then we will meet back in the garage. We'll continue on to the next step in finishing this rocket. Alright, so I've got the base layer of orange painted. So I'm going to let this dry for probably 24 hours because I put quite a bit on there to get it to fully color up. Using some primer before could have helped with that. That's probably one of the reasons they suggested it, but yeah, whatever. I'll just end up using more of the spray paint. But I will return after I let this dry overnight. Alright, so I've let this paint dry overnight, and I've already gone ahead and started on 2 of them just so I have a bit of an idea of what I'm doing. I don't know why that's... Oh, because I got it tighter up on the top. That's okay, actually, never mind. I just forgot what I was up to. Okay, and we are going to be working on masking off these little bottom guys here for painting black. And I don't have the instructions with me, but it is worth noting that the instructions denote only these little tabs as being actually gray, and these little center lines are actually still orange. I'm just gonna make the entire thing orange, or I mean black, to match the decals as well. I'm not gonna do gray. And then they also show this little ridge right here as being orange. I'm having a really tough time masking that with my current skill level, so I'm just doing this. And I'll demonstrate how I'm doing that right now. And before I do that, I'd just like to say sorry if we get any interruptions. I'm having pretty bad allergies right now, and I've also got family over, so people might be coming in and out. Hopefully that won't mess up our footage too much. But first, we're just gonna line it up with this bottom here. As best as we can. Press that nice and flat, and I've got it a little bit too close, so I'm going to gently peel this. Still want to be a bit gentle because this paint isn't fully hardened. I'm gonna use a new spot just because I kind of scrunch that one down a little bit. And that's okay, that's just on the paint bevel now. We'll go ahead and fold this little excess tab over. Now we'll pull this tight around the back and keep pulling it tight around the front, making sure that it lines up well. Pressing it nice and flat. And now you could go ahead and leave that there, but I'm going to make this little edge here a little bit flatter. Sorry, I've got a battery charging as well. By a little smaller strip. Just going to firmly place that like this. And there we go. We now have our little parts that we want to be black isolated. So now it's a little bit easier. We're just going to want to mask off the rest of this orange and make sure that none of the orange gets covered by any overspray on the black. Now, it is worth noting that it might be easier to hand paint these. I just don't have any hand paints other than acrylic paint, and I don't think that's going to mix well with spray paint. It might. I'm not too familiar with it. But I'm not really sure exactly what my game plan is here. Just going to kind of be winging this. Let's go ahead and get the majority of this wing covered, or fin. And I think if I were to somehow do something like this to all 3 fins, and then somehow connect this in the center here, it would mask off this without having to be as intricate. I'm going to try that and see how that works out for us. So I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. Oh, that's off camera, sorry y'all. Oops. Got a little bit of too big of a piece there. That's okay though. I can reshape it. There we go, my plan's already starting to take shape. See, it's already covering part of that bottom there. Wrap this excess around. Get another piece and we'll keep repeating this around. Seems like this is working out. Forgot how I did this. It's okay, we'll put a middle piece. Oh, I didn't cover the majority of this fin yet. That's what I didn't do. I was thinking, what did I forget in my little list of steps there? If we got some excess, we can just keep wrapping it around. It's not going to hurt nobody, as long as it's not going on something we're wanting to paint. Now, I prefer this green tape. It holds lines a little bit better compared to the blue stuff, the green frog tape. So it helps me account for my lack of skills, so to say. It's too big of a piece. I should start up there. Connect all that firmly. Fold it over a little bit. Got a little gap there. That's probably not going to be very important to seal, but I'm just going to put this little scrap piece on it. Replace it with a new gap. Okay. Probably tell I'm not the most elegant masker as far as paint masking goes. Sorry about that. As expected, had a interruption, but that's okay. So we're going to continue. Looks like I could use a wrap around here, just because of the way the spacing is worked out. That'll work. It's not perfect, but that'll work. I can fix it a little bit here. There. Now, try and seal up this bottom here. This ought to be not too hard. Put a piece there. I'm gonna have to sneeze. Alright, sorry about that. So we were trying to seal this up a little bit. Put that over there. Work on getting that sealed. Repeat the same over here, I guess. If we can. We can. Now we've only got this little gap. It's pretty good. Another small piece of tape. It's even smaller. And now it's even smaller. Now it's gone. So now, just gotta clean up that top edge here and put some security pieces. Just have that fold over. What I mean by security pieces is like for gaps like this, we're just gonna replace them with some new gaps. There we go, now we got a gap down there instead. Which hopefully, the point is, even though we have kind of crappy folds and stuff up here, hopefully all our gaps will be so far apart and our coats will be light enough whenever we do go to spray this that they won't find their way up and in there too far to the point where it gets actually to the rocket itself. More security pieces. I think that's pretty good. I'll just put one more here. There we go. We got the lower half of the rocket done. Now, what we could do to save a little bit of tape is I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a scrap piece of paper and we're gonna put it on this nose here so that we can reduce our tape wastage a little bit. This is more effective of a technique on longer rockets, but we can demonstrate it on this one. Alright, so I've got a scrap piece of paper here. It's just a E-launch controller instruction sheet, which I really don't need, to be honest. So, I'm just going to cut out a more reasonable size section of it. And really, we don't even need all of that. So I'll cut off some of that length. And I'm going to have some excess here because it'll kind of give me like a little handle that I can hold on to. I'll show that here in a minute. But what we're going to do is first, and once again, this is more effective at saving tape on longer rockets. I'm mostly doing it here just for the handle. We're going to first put a nice sealer around our top. Let me put a security piece right there. I didn't realize that that was such a gap right here and then such a fold over here. There we go. Okay. And then take your piece and overlap it. And sometimes it helps to, just like we did with our little guides for our fins, put a little piece to help anchor it. Actually, I don't know if we used a fin guide with this one. It's been a while since I built this because I had to wait for good days for painting. I feel like we might have done something different with this. Yeah, I feel like we used that little, the stencil for this one, actually. Never mind. We didn't use a fin guide. But if you've built other Estes rockets, you'll know what I'm talking about. Whenever you take the piece of paper and wrap it around the tube. It's a similar process here, except a lot less precise. Ooh. That's a very terrible piece of tape I just got there. That edge clean there. I ruined the next one too. Good lord. Okay. Then we just seal that tape on, or that paper on there. And then, assuming, you know, this was a longer rocket, you would tape the top up. Here, I'm just gonna flatten it, squish this tape together. Now I'll take another piece of tape, and I will fold it down with it. And that'll also give me a handle to work with it down here. Then I can also hang it from this later to dry. I'm gonna have to blow my nose real quick. Alright, sorry about that. Then we want to take one final piece of tape. This isn't necessarily required on this one, but it's more beneficial on longer rockets. Sometimes on longer ones, again, you might want to put some in the center just to anchor it before you do this, but just to seal this seam where the paper folds over itself. And there we go. We've got our rocket masked. Probably over masked, but that's how I always do it. And we're ready. There's probably a lot better ways to mask this than what I'm doing here. And like I said, hand painting would probably be much easier. But we'll go outside and we'll do some light coats of spray paint and get the black put on these little fin tips. Okay, so I've got my spray paint can and I've already shook it up a good bit. And you want to make sure that you press down your lines, make sure they're all nice and flat before you spray. And you also want to Okay, check. Make sure your tip's doing good and ain't gonna clog up on you. And then this tip might actually be going bad on me. Hold on, I've got a couple extra in my pocket for this very reason. That one's kind of clogged too. Let's see if this one works a bit better. Seems like it does. So, we're just going to continue our light coats. Yeah, that tip's a bit better. And now I'm going to let this one light coat, even though it's not complete, I'm going to let that dry for about 3 to 5 minutes. And I'll come back, repeat the light coat, give it another 3 to 5 minutes, repeat, and we'll repeat that until I can't see any orange shining through. So, off camera, I'll wait and continue the light coats. Okay, so I've let this dry for probably about 30 minutes. This paint dries quicker than most, so I'm gonna go ahead and start unmasking it. You wanna unmask the paint before it's fully dry. It should be mostly dry to the touch, but still a little bit wet. And the reason for that is, if you wait until it's fully dry, it can chip as you peel these. If it's a little bit wet, it kind of, imagine wet paint separating. It's going to separate more cleanly than if you've got dry paint, it's going to chip. So you want it to be a little bit wet, but off camera, I'm going to go ahead and just start peeling off the tape very carefully, just in the reverse order of how we put it on. It's going to take a while because I'm going to have to sit here and look at it and decipher which piece I put on first. I'm sure y'all don't want to watch that for 20 minutes or however long it takes me to pull this off, but you just carefully want to take off the masking tape. Okay, so I actually made a mistake. It's not with these lines. These lines are actually pretty good. I like how these turned out. That looks like it's off, but that's just where the paint kind of beveled, which will lead into what I was about to say. I oversprayed this a little bit, which has resulted in my paint not fully drying in that time. So you'll notice in some spots, where was the really bad example? I think it's right here, if it'll focus. Yeah, there it is. There's where a corner of the tape folded over and left an impression in the paint, where it was dry to the touch, but not fully dry to handle. So if you do overspray, like I am prone to, it's better to let your rocket or your parts dry for longer before you work on the next steps. Or, speaking of, if you do overspray on just a single coat, let it dry longer before you put the next coat on as well. But once you let these dry a bit longer, and I'm going to let my main coat dry for a little bit longer because I oversprayed, it'll be time to put on the decals. So when we come back, that'll be what we'll do. Just wanted to say real quick though, even if you have messed up your paint a little bit like I have, it's alright. Nobody's really going to notice when the thing's 500 feet up in the air anyways, so, The only thing it might make it a little bit difficult to do is put on some of these decals because the surface is a little bit rougher. Hopefully our clear coat will solve any of decal related issues with adherence though, because I always use a clear coat, which is optional, but I find helps decals to stick a lot better. It's also not really important for the rocket's flight to be painted like this. So, if you could even leave the rocket unpainted if you wanted. You could paint it however you want. If the rocket's got shitty paint, it's going to fly just fine as long as you built it right. So, don't stress out too much about getting your paint exactly perfect if you've messed up like I have. But anyways, let's get on to the decals. Alright, hopefully this tripod doesn't fall because it's actively breaking on me. I've got a new one, but I'm just going to keep using it until it breaks. But if we look at our instructions here, we'll notice our first step we've already finished was spray rocket with white primer. I skipped that step, possibly with some issues if we've seen, but I always skip it just because I'm lazy. Then you let it dry and sand if you would like, repeat until the rocket's smooth. And then you paint, which we have already done. That's the only step we actually did. And then apply decals after paint is dry. So our first step for applying the decals is to cut the decals from the sheet, trimming close to the edge. So we'll go ahead, and if your decals haven't popped apart, you just want to kind of peel this off or slide it apart. Usually they pop off the second you touch them. They're a little bit delicate. And then we'll take some scissors. These aren't the best scissors for this, but I've been using them just fine and they work. I'm going to start by separating these different parts. Just so that we can get a nice clean cut on all of these without having to worry about cutting into the other ones once it comes time for the final trim. So let's go ahead and separate these two. So we've got 3 little Estes decals, a little orange bullet decal, and then 3 of these black bars. And what we're going to be doing with these is, as you can see here, and as you can also see a little bit better here, on one side we're going to have the orange bullet on the side, and it appears that they've got the Estes logos on a fin, like for example there, and then again here, and then again here. So it's visible from each side on this fin. Would appear what they are showing us doing here, if I had to. But then it does also show it on this fin, on this side for there. So it's contradicting itself. You can do whatever you want, really. But then we've got these little black bars here that are going to be going in the center there. And yeah, I guess that'll fit. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried those might not be wide enough. We'll have to see. We'll begin cutting these out. First, I'll cut out the orange bullet because this one's going to be the easiest. We're just going to trim this one nice and close to the edge. These scissors take a few different rounding cuts to work properly because they're quite big. These are kind of my heavy-duty scissors, but they work for smaller stuff if you're patient. Do another rounding there. And there we go. Trim this slightly more on that edge. And there we go. Got our orange bullet cut out. Now I'll do one of these Estes logos just to show y'all. And again, these don't have to be too perfect. You just don't want to leave jagged edges, because that will make it more likely that your decal won't stick as nicely. At least in my experience. Oops, went a little bit too close there, but that's okay. And we'll repeat that for the other 2 of those off camera, but first I'll cut out one of these squares. First I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to separate these 3 first, cutting right down the middle of the gaps. And then, as close as I possibly can to this edge, I'm going to cut without cutting off as little of the black as I possibly can. I've got a little bit. There we go. As little as the black as possible. And then this edge doesn't matter as much. I do want to trim it a little bit though. And we'll repeat that for these other 2 black squares and then these other 2 Estes logos off camera. Okay, so I've got all our decals cut out here. And our next step is step 3, and this is kind of all goes in one time. It's step 3, 4, and 5. One at a time, we're going to place the decals in warm water until the decal curls and begins to relax, or until you can feel it start sliding and giving loose. That's what I usually do. I'll show you all here in a minute. Then you remove from the water, position on the rocket, and slide the decal backing away and put it on the rocket. Then you blot it with some paper towels and let it set overnight. And then an optional step is after you let it set for 24 hours, you apply a protective clear coat. I really suggest you do that just for the durability of your decals. It really helps them to be durable. But what I'm going to do off camera real quick is go get a small bowl of water, not too deep, just a little shallow. Put it in the microwave for about 15 to 30 seconds. You don't want it to be very hot. You want it to be, if you want a specific temperature, I'm sorry for my metric folks who are using Celsius. I'm not exactly sure what this is off the top of my head. I'll give just a general basis of how to test it, but you want it to be between about 90 and 110 degrees about. So whenever you dip your finger in it, you want the water, that temperature was Fahrenheit, by the way, not Celsius. But another way to tell, this is usually how I do it, you should dip your fingers in the water and it should feel warm. Not hot, but warm. And that should be good enough for the decals. So I'm gonna go get that warm water and we'll be back. Okay, so I've got my warm water here. It's just a little bit warm to the touch. So probably about 100 something degrees, if I had to guess, because it's a little bit warmer than body temperature. And first, I'm gonna try to put on these little orange square, or these little squares. I'm gonna take one and just see if, I'm not sure that's gonna completely bridge that gap, but it'll look okay, I guess. And I'm just gonna dip it in this water, and you'll notice it's kind of curling, and that's what they talk about, and it should relax here in just a second. It's starting to relax, and you can see it's starting to slide there. And that's what I usually wait for, is it to start to slide. And we want to try to position it, slide it away from the backing. And it's okay if it's not perfect like that, as long as we don't squeeze out the water just yet, because we can kind of maneuver this. Just a little bit. Let me push it up just a tiny bit. Okay, that's pretty good. And now I'm gonna take, should have had this pre-prepared, paper towel. Get a smaller piece. I'm just gonna dip it in here, squeeze out most of the water. Just have it damp, and use that to kind of press on it. Absorb most of the water around it. Then we'll take our dry piece and press on it again. Just tapping it, not wiping. Just pressing it firm against the background, and now we have done that one. So I'll go ahead, get the second one ready. We'll just repeat this for all three of these little squares here. That one's starting to slide. Hello, Indy. And we just want to be careful not to mess this up while we're working on the next one. There we go. Trying to get that centered there, and a little bit crooked. Okay, again with our damp paper towel, I might dip it in it just to warm it up and squeeze it out. And then again with our dry paper towel. And we'll do the final little square here. Water's starting to cool off, so after I do this one, I'll probably run it through the microwave for a couple more seconds to get it nice and warm again. It'll stop sticking my finger by the water tension there. There we go. Trying to align it with this other side as best as I can. Make it look nice and fluid. And again with our damp but wringed out towel, or paper towel. And again with our dry paper towel. This time I'm kind of just gonna wrap around the whole thing a little bit. Just grab a new dry one because that one's starting to turn damp a little bit. Dry my hands while I'm at it. Because these are getting a little bit. What is that? What is that? Must be some dirt or something that's gotten on there. Just come by and make sure all these are dry. Pressed on nicely, and it looks like they are. I wish these would have been longer so that we could have trimmed them to fit, because... Hello, Andy. Hello. Hello. Because they're not quite fully extending, but that is okay. It still looks alright. But you can see in the instructions it's got them extending all the way, or in the packaging, but... And I didn't snip those very much at all. I mean, y'all watched me. They're all the exact same. It's not like... I thought that even when I was looking at them in the sticker sheet. But anyways, these do go below where the nose cone connects. But next we will... Got some water on that. I guess do the Orange Bullet decal after I go and warm this up real quick. Okay, so I've warmed back up that water. First, I'm going to decide, I think I'm going to do this side. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this side. Maybe, not this side for sure, but yeah, I think this side would hide the launch look best. They do show it being on this side, just by the way. But I'm going to probably just try to hide the launch lug. Though honestly, the way this would fit on the launch pad and probably look coolest. No, it would fit like that too. Yeah. Is that imperfection? Okay. I don't know though, I do kind of have this bump right here. I might end up... Yeah, I'm gonna just do it on this side. Just because of that bump, I'm worried the decal might not work as good, but it'll be alright. Ooh, that one's curling quite a bit. Kind of scared me at first. Okay, it's starting to slide. Do you want to be a bit more careful with these longer ones? See, it's already trying to shrivel up on me a little bit, but that's okay. I can, if I'm careful, save that. It looks like I have. Let's just have the packaging for reference on the positioning here. That looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to get our towel again. Let's press it flat mostly with our damp towel. Being careful once again not to press on these guys up here. And then we'll take our dry Just tap it. And there we go. Now we've got our Orange Bullet decal. Now I'm going to put on these Estes decals. I'm only going to show one of these on camera because I think y'all get the point by now. But I'm going to put all three. I'm going to put one on this fin, like this, or well, no, like this. And I'll show y'all at the end if this doesn't make perfect sense. Another one here, and another one here, because we've got three, so I'll put one on each side, or one on this side of each fin. So I'm just going to do one on camera real quick. While I'm getting that moist, I see a little drop forming there. Okay, and they show it, yeah, just like I was thinking that it looked good. And there we go. Now we will use our damp one again to press it. And once again, tap it with our dry. And of course I did it on the fin that we can't display it and see what we're actually, the final product's gonna look like. But once I get all three of these, I'll chime back in and explain our next step. All right. And now that we have got that, that is the Estes Orange Bullet kit, fully assembled as the instructions dictate, and fully finished. Except for the optional step, which is to apply a protective clear coat. Now before you do that, if you are going to, you want to let these decals dry overnight. At least for 24 hours is what I like to do. And really you want to do that anyways, even if you're not applying a protective clear coat. Before you launch this, you want to let these decals dry overnight. Because, you know, we just applied them with water, there's a bit of moisture. Even though we dried most of it, we got to give the glue time to set and cure, because that water just activated some glue. So we got to let the water evaporate and then the glue set. But then after that, after 24 hours, I'm going to go off camera and put some high gloss clear coat on top of it. I've also had success with the same formula in dead flat. This is from Rust-Oleum, by the way. Don't know if that was on frame. But really, you could use any finish you'd like. It's just personal preference. But that is going to be the end of this video, because, like I said, I'm going to do the clear coat off camera. And this rocket, other than that, is complete. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I hope to see you in the next one. I should have another build coming out soon. Another build video coming out soon. I am working on the Black Brant 2, and I'm also working on the Estes Luna Bug, which I have ready to paint, but it was such a short build and video that I'm just going to make the finishing and painting all in one. So, those videos, the holdup with that is I keep kicking the tripod. I don't have paint right now for both of those rockets. I've actually, this video will be in multiple parts. It's not been released yet, but I have finished the Black Brant 2 as far as build goes, except for the fillets. I'm still working on the fillets, but gonna be painting that soon. So the build video for that will be out soon. It will probably take me a minute to get the finishing and painting all complete though. But as I said, that is the Orange Bullet completed. And I should have this clear coated soon, and then we'll get a launch video out. Hopefully the launch and recovery will all go well. I'll post the video even if it gets lost, but hopefully it won't, because this little guy's cute. If I lose this, I'm gonna have to buy and build another one.